Hello, everyone. We got ourselves a little bit of a talk show again. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined. A lot of us are actually going to be doing stuff in a couple of days, so it actually means a lot that you guys took your time out of your busy schedule to come and talk about this. People have been asking for it, so I kind of felt like I had to. But we are here, guys. We got CatZ, Steadfast, and Wardi, and we are going to be talking about just the StarCraft 2 Esports World Cup, or StarCraft 2 at Esports World Cup. I'm sure there's an official way we're supposed to say it. But what was I going to say? We might have time to talk about other stuff later, but that's not part of the program. Right now, we're just going to be talking about this tournament. So let's start from the beginning. Let's actually go over the qualifiers because there's, I believe, no one's actually done that. So let's get into it. I'm going to bring up you guys need a link. I need to. I'm gonna be a best show host ever and link you guys.
Totally.
Nice. Thank you for all the resubs as well. As usual, when it comes to the talk show, kind of have to keep the flow going, so I might not call you out when I can. But yeah, the qualifier. So, I remember a lot of good games. That's the first thing that I kind of want to talk about. There's a lot of good games in this qualifier. And then I talked to a lot of the pros from like my lesson stuff that I do, and they all agree that there is actually some really exciting games and meta development that was happening in the qualifiers, which was nice. It does kind of feel like it's cooled off a little bit, but I know that there were some really good games. I missed the Korean Open qualifier. I don't know if you guys cast that.
Yeah, I did that one.
Okay.
I did that too, yeah.
Yeah, I just remember it being actually a pretty cool thing because obviously Rogue was kind of like a could he do it? Could he do it? And in typical fashion, he might have, but someone interrupted him. So, yeah, Shin kind of coming in as the bit of the hype killer. I mean, is that okay to say? Is that being mean?
Absolutely.
Well,
like everyone wanted Rogue to win, right? We all wanted Rogue to maybe make it, or at least like see a few more Rogue games. Then Shin just beats him in a ZVZ, and it's like, god damn it. Especially because Rogue had looked really good in ZVZs. Like he took down Solar multiple times. I feel like ZVZ was like his most consistent matchup. It was kind of sad that he even just lost like a round before he got like a second chance in the qualifier as well.
Yeah, it was a pretty brutal qualifying system in general, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, and you don't get much better when you actually go to EWC once you qualify, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So Shin and Bunny from the Korean qualifier. Is that surprising? Rogue was doing one ZVZ. Right, in stats, sorry. In the third place match, stats also qualified. So, I mean, I don't think that's really surprising, right? Like, DRG could have done it, I guess. Trap maybe could have done it. It's a very small bracket, so pretty much any name that you recognize might have had a chance, and then maybe the less likely would be someone like Chance. But that's, everyone else had a shot.
It's really nice to see his stats back too, though, and to see him on the world stage again. That's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, stats.
He didn't make it though. This was for the closed qualifier.
Oh yeah. That's good to get to the closed qualifier. Yeah.
No, he didn't make it.
Yeah, so this is just the open qualifier, guys. This is just for them to say that we advance to the next stage. Shin did eventually qualify for the entire tournament, and the other two did not. But yeah, it's a very brutal format. So, and then the European side, we had Showtime, Lambo, and a Laser qualify. There were surprising results because, I mean, I was there casting this one, and more than a couple, I think, of players were like, okay, like maybe I don't have the highest of hopes. Like it's going to be very difficult to actually make it into EWC, but then, I'll try my best. And some of them actually bombed out earlier than you might expected. It was a little weird, but it was always going to be difficult to get all the way.
It was crazy because Psionic actually just destroyed 4 actual real threats to make it in. And not even shown up on this bracket is the fact that Skillus got knocked out in the first round by Psionic.
Yep.
That was unbelievable. That was wild because Skillus is in like the best form of his life right now. But he has one rough bracket. And to be fair to Psionic and Moja and all these guys, they kind of popped off. But that was kind of devastating because I was thinking Skillus had a really good shot at making it through the actual closed qualifier itself. But obviously I counted my chickens well before they were hatched, and yeah, he got knocked out. And it just goes to show that it really sucks that I mean, we alluded to it here, but it was single elimination for the open bracket stuff. And I know that it would have been a really long format, but like double elim might have been a lot more fair, considering this isn't just 1 year circuit. This is like a 20-month culmination. This is almost 2 years of circuit that is being culminated in the biggest tournament StarCraft 2 has ever had. So to have one single limb, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also had like the entire year and a half to qualify. So
For sure.
They could have just done it then. I don't know.
If they just played better, Steadfast.
Just simply be
just
one of the
takes
top
Searle's spot,
16 in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I feel like I look at it as like they didn't have to do this qualifier at all, honestly.
Mm.
And so I honestly didn't mind that it was kind of cutthroat and brutal. Maybe you get like a wild card that makes it through as well. Like, I know, like, it's maybe not the best. Like, I'm sure the players don't love it, but as a viewer, I thought it was actually kind of exciting. So it was
incredibly exciting for sure. Just brutal.
I feel like if this was like the only way to qualify, like full stop, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna miss out on some favorites, but like, I feel like you don't lose many favorites over other favorites anyways, because in the end, only 2 people are gonna make it, right? And the second stage is double elim and everything, so I don't know. I feel like they didn't really lose out on much. And
the thing that I think is really
save them time.
Yeah. The thing that I think is really interesting that if you swapped Traps and Rogue's position in the Korean bracket, I think they both make it through, and I think they both make it through easily. And we're talking about how like they're like, and then who knows what happens in the closed qualifier. Obviously, you're like looking at revisionist stuff, but I think Trap matches up pretty well against Shin, and I think Rogue would have matched up incredibly well against Bunny, because Rogue ZBT actually still looks like some of the best in the world. Comparable and even mechanically in some ways, and at least one of the games I've seen, better than Searle's. And that's insane to say, I know that, but if you watch the game, you'll know what I mean.
I don't think it was at the time of the qualifier, though. I actually think Rogue's... You think? I think Rogue's EVT was... He barely beat Ryung.
He barely beat Ryung, but he also... He beat an Oliveira that was the closest coming to beating Searle. Granted, it was literally just one game, and he ended up losing the series 4-1. But the one game that he won was you legitimately have to go back and look at this game to see what I'm talking about mechanically. Like, it was some insane shit. And it was an Oliveira that was beating Searle. You know,
I love that. I don't know. There always has to be
yeah.
someone with the hot takes. You know.
I mean, I like that take. That is one of the hottest takes I've ever heard.
Yeah,
he took
yeah.
a game from the guy that almost beat the other guy. There,
no. I'm talking about pure mechanics. I'm talking about pure mechanics without necessarily having. Because Searle's superpower at this point, with all of his others, is he's also had some insane prep. You know, like
but
his
feel
build
like
orders have been really good.
Saying that someone who had like one game where they were mechanically excellent isn't actually saying much, because it really depends, I feel like, on the game too, right? Like how much they pressure you and everything else that goes into a best of. Because I can execute a build order actually kind of nicely if I don't ever get harassed. But
Oliveira was really up in his face.
I know. I'm sure Oliveira was actually doing really well, but I think one game is hard to, especially because we have no facts in front of us. Excuse me, Steadfast, if you go get some numbers here, but I feel like we'd really have to like actually zoom in and say, okay, this was mathematically better than Searle's macro, because it just seems
it's very difficult, right? Because like say like you kill a Reaper early game and all of a sudden your build is much cleaner, right? Like type thing. It's just
for sure.
So, yeah.
But you know, okay, high praise.
But that's what I'm saying is it's meant to be a statement that has impact to it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
unfortunately,
I think Artosis is completely delusional to put Rogue as high as he does. Okay. And with that said in mind, I think that this was one of the highest level ZBTs I've seen in terms of pure raw mechanics in the entire year.
Well,
I mean, to touch on that very quickly, I think that Artos's argument for Rogue being the GOAT is not bad. It's just really contrived, right? Like it's like he just looks at very certain statistics, but the argument is well constructed, and I'm glad that there's people out there, like hyping up other people.
Sure,
than
yeah.
Seraph.
I'm just
Sure.
so glad it took us 15 minutes to get onto the GOAT conversation. Like, this is really
This is
incredible.
like
It's a record.
the game where like you try to find like Hitler as fast as possible in Wikipedia.
Oh,
You know, like is it 2
I did want to
links
touch
or
on
5?
Skillers before we move on, though.
Okay.
Just because, like, I think I agree. Like, he's in great shape, and to me, like, he always gets so sad whenever he bums out. And this time it was like, he was very sad on Twitter, and then he revised kind of like his situation because he thought, oh, okay, at least Psionic ended up beating all these people, and that is very, I think, worth noting for Psionic. Is just that run is probably the best run of his life. So that's impressive in itself. And I talked a little bit about this with Skillers, and I thought maybe it's like a mindset type thing, but he felt like his mindset has been improving and it's better, and he goes in without pressure, and still he's struggling to perform. But he's a player that I really would have loved to see go a little bit further and have some really cool games. So I'm sad about that.
Yeah. I think we were all
By the way,
pretty shocked
CatZ,
by it.
your camera went super blurry.
Yeah,
Oh, that's tough. I don't know what to do.
doesn't want to focus. But your audio is crisp, so that's the important part.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is all like I actually kind of see Wardi's point of view, and I think that is kind of fine. But on the other hand, if you did compare it to some of the earlier tournaments in StarCraft 2's career, far less money for far more of an elaborate process to get there. Tons more like official production and a lot more like literal days of qualifiers. Like remember the Katowice or regular IEM,
Oh, yeah, they were
whatever.
long.
Yeah, they were super long, which I maybe don't go that extreme, but more like you would have expected time to give us just like a good organized broadcast for these things instead of what it was, one day, all community casters pile on. And then for the closed qualifier, they did actually do a broadcast, which is different. And I think it maybe didn't get the most viewership or anything like that, but I do think it adds to the prestige that the tournament is like this huge $1 million tournament, right? So you have a little bit more of a occasion for the qualifier. But yeah, it's the open qualifier didn't seem like befitting $1 million tournament, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. But as far as whether or not they even should have had it in the first place, yeah, like, if this is the global championship, world championship, that usually wouldn't be the case. It would just be like, well, if you made it or not. So, I mean, at least they opened it up. So open qualifiers, open casting. Because initially, for a couple of days, we were all like, no one's telling us anything. So, okay, maybe it isn't.
My favorite part was actually when they told us we could co-stream it, and I was like, I don't know, like, because eventually, like, obviously the official like stream for the closed qualifier, they're like, you can co-stream it, right? But I was like, yeah, but what about the open qualifiers? They're like, yeah, you can co-stream those too, and I was like, but who's casting them?
Who's the mainstream?
They're like, the community cast. I was like, so are we casting it? And they were like, yeah, we don't really know. Yeah, and the co-streaming
Fantastic.
thing was so funny because I literally just got an email earlier today that
Yes!
said, you've been approved to co-stream. I'm like, great, that is like a month late.
yeah,
for
yeah,
what I
yeah.
wanted to do. Damn.
It was great. Yeah, they were like, well, you can apply, to do the closed to co-stream. And they're like, it's in like 3 days. And they're like, well, you can do it. And then no one got a response. And then everyone got a response today. So if we wanted to co-stream StarCraft 2, we could, but I think some of us might be a little busy. So on to the next one. We do have the Americas Open Qualifier, which resulted in Trigger advancing to the closed. Not actually all that surprising. I mean, Trigger kind of feels like he's due to be number one in the region at some point, but he's beating Scarlet kind of consistently. Excuse me. Has kind of a struggle versus Estrella, but you would figure with time he would eventually get there. But now, with the actual loss in the closed qualifier, he even tweeted about, wondering how long he's going to be playing StarCraft. So it feels like we're kind of getting a little bit of a shakeup in Americas, but maybe not for very long. I don't know.
I think I think that like a lot of things right now, and a lot of people's careers trajectory. I don't want to speak for Trigger, but I've spoken to him a little bit in person and whatnot. Wait, the caster list is announced now?
No.
Oh, I was like, it is announced, and I was like, I don't think it is. It will depend a lot on what happens over the next, after EWC. Like many of us probably on this call, like there's a lot of question marks that we just don't have the answer to.
Yeah.
So I think if we get another circuit, I think Trigger will probably continue to do his thing.
I think so. I mean, it's kind of what he alluded to, but he's also talking about what else he should be doing at this time in his life. So, which I think is just appropriate. And we might close the discussion, I guess, with some talk about the potential future. But moving on to the closed qualifier. So this was just to get to the closed qualifier, which was double elimination, but only awarded 2 qualification spots. So that eventually ended up being Shin and Showtime. Really great series in these closed qualifiers. Bunny Showtime, the first one was really fun. The second one was just kind of great if you're a Showtime fan, I guess, to see how well he was playing. And then Showtime Shin was also a lot of good games.
Showtime Shin felt like a world championship finals. That was so good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
It was, yes. And then what else? So Bunny Showtime Shin, and then Stats Laser was also interesting. That was a 3-2 in Stats' favor.
I think the first Bunny Stats series was pretty good too.
The first Bunny Stats?
Yeah,
okay,
the best of 3.
Yeah, probably. But only 2 people could get through, so you had to have still the best day of your life, or 2 days of your life, which fortunately Showtime and Shin had. And then some other hopefuls, I guess just not quite enough. Lambo might have had a chance. Bunny too.
Firefly the goat.
Firefly, real just disappointment. He usually gets so much farther in tournaments.
He did qualify for it, which is cool. But yeah, not the most stacked up bracket in Asia.
No, not too much. And on to, I would say, the main event, unless you guys have anything more about the qualifiers you guys want to discuss.
I think just awesome for me. Like I haven't been able to watch or play as much StarCraft recently, and to me, just seeing Showtime kind of rise up to the challenge recently, like with Home Story Cup, and then this is pretty awesome. So
honestly, the Showtime storyline after Home Story Cup, especially where he was like a quarter of an inch away from closing it out against Gumiho, and then Gumiho had that legendary comeback on Crimson Court. Came back from 3-1, won that one 4-3. Just an absolutely gut-wrenching result for Showtime. And he is playing the best StarCraft of his life, like even better than when he won the Premier Tournament like all those years ago. This is awakened Showtime, at least for that period of time. So for him to come so close at Home Story Cup and then fall just short, and then come so close against Shin in the upper bracket and fall just short. And then you see Bunny kind of on the tear, like takes down Lambo 3-1. And then Showtime just like shuts him down. Absolutely like the most lockdown, clean Protoss play you've ever seen. Fucking crazy good shit. Was so cool. Obviously very heartbreaking for Bunny, but super cool for Showtime, who's been so close for like 3 years to making that big result happen. To me, this was as if he won DreamHack Dallas or DreamHack Valencia. This was on the same level as winning a Premier Tournament, and it is a $15,000 paycheck for him at minimum. So it even like aligns in terms of the monetary value of winning a Premier Tournament. Like as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what it says. I count this as a Premier Tournament win for both Showtime and Shin.
Okay. That's very strong.
It's definitely very impressive. Yeah, I mean, it's a Premier Tournament where you remove all of the guys that are already qualified because they're the best. But I mean, it's like best of the rest. The rest is pretty impressive still.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I maybe a little hyperbole again. I feel like Steadfast is like we all agree with the sentiment, but then he just like tips it a little bit higher.
He does the Trump, the Trump strats.
So Yeah, I think that, we're all very excited for Showtime in particular, because I think, not to say that we're all super biased, but I think we could all kind of agree that we are a little bit to Showtime. But I think that we're talking less about Shin's result just because he has this habit of doing that. Like, Shin has a habit of coming up as kind of like I guess he could because he's done it before, but we'll see. And then he pushes past, where Showtime is like kind of the opposite, where it's like, well, I guess he could, but he usually doesn't. So, one's a little
But
more
it's
expected.
always like he's like one map away.
Exactly.
Like a 2-3 result against Serral when Serral's not losing to anyone, like at all, in 2018 or 2019. Like all these super, super close things where he's just on the wrong side. But like he was finally on the right side this time, and it was just really, really gratifying to see. And Shin played really well too. But yeah, just to echo your point, he's had a top 4 of the world championship in the last 2 years. Like Shin is not doing poorly in terms of results.
Yeah, it's never a guaranteed, but it's like, okay, he did his thing. All right, good. Great for Shin. He's as you said, like if they qualify in EWC, it is the equivalent prize of first place at a DreamHack. You just don't have to beat all those top tier players to get there, but you do have to beat them eventually if you want to continue making even more hot dollar bills. So that's what we're going to be talking about now, the main event. And this is confusing to a lot of people, understandably so, but this is not just these two groups. There is a knockout bracket that does consist of Showtime and Shin. They just don't get populated here until the tournament really gets going. So I guess we'll start with that and then move on to the Group A. The qualified players, Showtime and Shin, they literally get put into the knockout bracket, of which almost all of the matches are best of 3. So they have one chance every time they go up against someone, and only 3 games as well, which we know that kind of increases the volatility. Exceptionally difficult. The most difficult, perhaps, for anyone entering in from a qualifier. Because
How's it determined who they face? Do we know?
No, I actually have no
Not
idea.
yet.
Yeah.
I hope that they give them the lowest seeds, to be honest. That seems fair to me.
It'll probably be the other way around. They'll probably
There's
get
no
the
way.
highest.
Right,
They're gonna
yeah.
get the highest seeds, probably,
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
they're technically
You
the
think so?
lowest seeds coming into this. They're 17th, 18th.
They are kind of the lowest seeds, but I feel like it's like the system should regulate for region. But like, for example, Coffee is probably not of the same caliber as everyone else, and he's almost definitely going to lose to Serral. I'd be more interested in seeing how the open qualifier or the closed qualifier people that qualified through not their easier kind of region would do in the global stage than the kind of like the handout spot.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no really other way to put it, right? I mean, I think we all kind of agree. Once Oliveira has his place, then Asia's kind of a, they can give it a go. I mean, I don't want to entirely discount Coffee and his chances against some other players, but his bracket is, I want to say, like, I don't know, like Gumiho Estrella, I think Coffee would be a little more of a contestant against them.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, almost everyone else he is very much unfavored against. Where Showtime and Shin, yeah, I'm just not sure that's the case. Generally, I suppose they're not favorites, but
they can beat anyone type
yeah, I think they could actually beat anyone.
Yeah.
Shin literally beating Serral, Katowice, Showtime, as you were saying, getting close when no one else could. If Serral's like the number one, like the the most intimidating person to beat, but then on top of that, can they beat Hero? Can they beat Solar? Can they beat Cure? I would say yes to all of those. But instead, they have to wait to see who gets knocked out, which not only is it a little confusing because you have 2 players literally not like listed like you usually would, but then you also do have this kind of weird format in general. As far as groups being double elimination brackets, I think you all can wrap your head around that. It's that there's also this second versus second place match, which is a little odd. So let's get a hypothetical out here so you guys can visualize how this would go. So Maru faces Dark in the upper bracket final, for instance. Maru wins, gets to the final 4. He is literally waiting in the semifinals if he wins right off the bat. Then the guy who lost to him, Dark, would go to this second place match waiting for Group B to results. So Serral versus Clem is the upper bracket final. Serral wins, Clem goes down. Then Clem Dark would fight for another place in the final four. That's 3 out of 4. And then one more from the knockout bracket.
It's actually slightly more convoluted even than that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because it's so the winner of the upper stage goes directly to the final four.
Oh
like you
yeah,
said.
no, I've totally
But
forgotten
then,
about the
then
lower
there's
bracket.
a loser bracket final.
Yeah, sorry.
So it's the winner of the loser bracket final goes to that second place match. And
You're
plays
right.
The winner of the other loser bracket final, and then they make it in, and then that's 3, and then you get the 4th through the knockout bracket.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean,
So it's just even a little bit more convoluted.
I don't know if that's
one more match.
I don't know if that's confusing because that's just how second place of a double elimination bracket is. But yeah,
This is the first time I've
no,
ever
it's not
seen it
confusing, yeah.
portrayed like this
It's
on
cool.
Wikipedia.
The issue is the format is just not good. Like,
You think
It's-
so?
I
Yes,
think it's pretty interesting.
no, it's no. Okay, right,
Okay.
we're gonna fight.
All
This
right.
format might be one of the worst formats in all time of StarCraft 2. The difference of, say you like lose your first round match, right? Then you
Uh-huh.
can only get to second versus second. So then you've got to go through 4 more matches
Yeah.
to potentially play a 5th match, which if you lose, you're not out. But then you get to play 3 more matches to make the final round. It's so dumb. You could end up playing
I
like
see, I
8
see.
matches compared to the guy that beat you and
This
just
is-
won one. Like,
I see.
This is empathetic.
No, I
this
agree
is,
with
This
that.
is empathetic Wardi, right? Like where it's like, yeah, looking out for the players. But
No,
from
no,
a
but-
perspective of we're watching this tournament, pretty hype, no?
no, because the moment someone loses in the first round, the chances of them being in the finals is so much lower. Like, it's so favored to the people who just win through the winner bracket, which maybe it should be. But that immediately puts so much pressure on your first round draw, which at that point gets rid of the whole point of a double elimination bracket, because the lower bracket is just not as good as the winner bracket.
I think
But
I
you're
agree
saying
with
the
him.
tournament favors the people who win the tournament. Yeah,
No,
of course
no.
it does.
No, no,
Well-
no, 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 no.
Your,
I'm saying
No.
your
it's-
statement was
no, no, no.
the loser bracket is not as good as the winner
No,
bracket.
but in a group stage, if you have a double elimination group, usually the people that advance from the group should be maybe a slight seeding difference, but that's not what this is. The winner of the group is so much better off than the loser, because the loser has to
Yeah.
play another loser, which is extremely tough. And after that, it's not like they have one final chance to make it again. Then you're basically reset to someone who lost 0-3-0-3. You get to go one best of 3 further on, which is
So-
not really
No,
that big of a deal because you're probably
Yeah, so
favored
there-
if
It's
you-
brutal.
So
It's super brutal if you go through and you
problem-
lose the second versus second.
Yeah, the problem is that your position doesn't really change no matter where you lose.
Yes,
Like if you
exactly. So, like,
lose,
yeah,
it doesn't matter
No,
how far you got.
But then you have a
Pretty
decision to make where you can be like, okay, we're not going to say they throw the matches, but you can say they're hiding builds. If they lose the first round match, they don't have to put as much foot on the gas.
That would be the dummest
That's
idea in the
terrible.
world. Yeah, no,
That's
that
terrible.
I don't think it's a.
But
great
that's
okay,
decision.
completely the
I don't think it's
opposite
a
of
great
Wardy's
setup.
point.
here's the thing, right? The format itself could maybe be like, it's still going to be entertaining. It's still going to have value. You could have just made a way better format with way better matches along the way. That's way fairer to the players and way less punishing from round one. Like, I don't know. Like,
Fair to
I
the
just
players,
think it's-
agree. Less punishing to the players, agree. Is this format just like longer though? Like it gives us a lot of StarCraft.
But you could have had more StarCraft with like a way fairer format with like, just even if like 2 players each advance out of like this final 4 or something, or out of these 2 groups, and then you have a knockout bracket for like, I don't know, 4 more players, and they like play some gold. Like you could have made it like, there's so many things you could have done. I just think this is one of the worst ways they could have done it.
But Wardy,
Like-
don't you want more games so that when you hypothetically get brought on to cast the tournament, assuming hypothetically, because we don't have to confirm anything. 1 extra day of games means another day rate for Wardy, which means more money in the bank.
I mean, but they didn't have to like. You could still do the same amount of days with a better format. This format doesn't lengthen anything. It just puts more emphasis
Yeah.
on worse parts of the tournament for longer.
There's
So
Maybe.
then,
It also
so then
gives
do
you
think
the Oliveira on steroids story, no? It's like he gets knocked down,
And then he gets up again?
Well, no, but
and then he gets up again.
I agree with Wardi though. But like you guys are saying, like, well, these things could also happen. But Wardi's like, there are better formats where those things could also happen. Like you could throw out Oliveira has a sick run in MLG style lower bracket, but that could happen in another format as well, and it would still be sick. But
like let's face it, whoever makes it out of the knockout bracket, we're going to be talking about the sick run they made because they've run at the very least 3 matches in the knockout bracket, and that's if they already started 1 round further ahead because they were second place of a group anyway, right? So, like, whoever makes out the knockout bracket is going to be a sick run.
Yeah,
it's just the knockout bracket is such a pointless reset when they could have built on the placements from before. Like, right now, you can win 3 best of 5s against the best players in the world, and you're going to be in the same place as Coffee, who got 3-0'd by Serral and Hero, or Serral and Solo or something. And no offense to Coffee, but, like, there is just no benefit from winning your matches unless you make the Final Four, which obviously, like, yes, you want to go make the Final Four in the first place, but then it just means you can have wasted, like, a bunch of... It just doesn't seem...
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you just could have had a more meaningful tournament where all of your results matter. Whereas now we've got this... I feel like we're addicted to this knockout bracket.
Yeah.
Which has been a thing for, like, a while. It's like, we have to have a knockout bracket. And half the time, the knockout bracket is just an extension of the bracket as well. So
it is entirely possible.
It's like 2 tournaments, no?
It's like 3, really. Honestly, it's like 4, kind of, because each group is its own tournament, in my opinion. Like Group A, Group B, knockout bracket, and then the round of 4. It is entirely possible, though, that they will. I'm not saying, and I do honestly agree. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but I do agree with Wardi that they could have done it a lot better. But it is entirely possible that they'll seed the knockout bracket based on how you did, like how far along you got. Like maybe the people who, were, I don't know, lose in the lower bracket final of Group A or Group B, maybe they get to choose their first round opponent out of, like, I don't know, the bottom people in their bracket or something.
I can almost guarantee that's not how it's going to be.
Yeah, probably not.
Almost. But I think I was going to say the same thing, right? Where they're addicted to the knockout bracket, but in general, what ends up being addicted to is also the lack of stars in our tournaments for a majority of time. Like it's one of the most poor unintended side effects, I think, is that Serral will breeze through, Mara will breeze through potentially, and then you just don't see them for like 3 days.
The winner is most likely going to play 5 series over... How many days is this actually? Is it 4 or 5?
It's 4. Pretty sure.
No, it's 5. It says it starts on the 14th, ends on the 18th, so it's 5.
Okay.
But no, I think maybe 4 actually. Whatever. Either way, over the course of, it's ridiculous either way. Over the course of 4 or 5 days, the winner will play 5 series, pretty much. Which isn't like a terrible amount. Probably, yes, unless the guy from the knockout bracket makes all the way, sure. But most likely the winner plays 5 series over the course of that many days. When 2 of those series on the last day, at the very least, it's very likely the winner just won't play on one of the days. And they're likely to be one of the best players. Like, it's so wild, right? Like,
it is possible also that, honestly, yeah, the likeliest story is that winner of Group A or winner of Group B. But the second versus second match, they could play like, they could play like 9 series or something and still win the tournament.
Of course they could. But like, theoretically, the people who come out of the first place of the group are the favorites, right? So in theory, the most likely circumstance is that the winner of the tournament will play by far and away the least games. It's not like they played like 1 less match or 2 less matches. Like, probably like a significant number of less matches.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and then you miss out on seeing more of those players type thing throughout the tournament. But at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of like their final bosses type thing that are waiting in the wings, and I feel like that's also like one way to frame it.
Big picture, it is, but when you look at what we need, viewership on a daily basis to convince people it's not dead. Missing Serral, who just, even if he like literally when Serral was stomping whoever it was that made it to the season finals in Sweden, he still had a viewer boost. Like, it could be
that's
one-sided shit.
But that's also, but that's the hype thing too, right? I feel like if you deprive people of Serral for 4 days and then you say Serral's on the final day, like, I feel like more people are gonna show up.
No, it
if you have him every day.
Yeah, I'm not sure that
it just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't.
Plus,
you think people will show up for every Serral match type thing?
Yes.
Yes, and it happens every
in the
time.
Probably.
You can.
I doubt
It's-
not in the same amounts though.
No. You can even see it when, like, say me, Steadfast, and Roddy cast a Kung Fu Cup. The moment Cyril signs up, it literally does not make sense for us to cover all the other awesome matches. All of us
Yeah.
will get a viewership boost if we all cast the same Cyril game from round 1, where he plays a ZVZ against Billy Big Balls, who just showed up for the fun and giggles. You know, like, it actually is just not worth casting like other good matches, because Cyril has that sort of a pull. Like, and he really does. Like
Yeah.
like
sure.
nobody else. Like Rain or Clem kind of have it to a little bit more of an effect, but like Cyril, because he plays in so few things as well, especially,
I was gonna
it's
say
crazy.
he's already kind of doing
But
us a bit of a
that is
favor.
exactly the point. Is because he plays in so few things is kind of what I'm getting at, right?
No, I
like here
agree.
he would be playing in fewer things, and then
I
you
think
would,
the problem
like in
is
the final
the
day you'll get the most viewership. I feel like.
the problem is the length
But-
of time. I would say, like, it's just it's not the same as having him gone for months where you don't know what he's like, versus you saw him Thursday and now you see him Sunday. I mean, Cyril is actually one of the more interesting players besides being like the literal best,
Yeah.
because he doesn't sign up.
The literal best or the literal GOAT?
The literal, well, that's the difference. He's the literal greatest of all time.
Ah, nice. Okay. Just wanted confirmation.
This is just not like
And
a
best as well,
controversial
yeah.
thing anymore.
Both.
As soon as only one person called me out for saying it on that broadcast, I was like, oh, okay, it's a fact now. I can say it all the time and no one cares.
It's kind of exciting, like to see if this tournament, if Cyril's performance will eventually convince Artosis.
No, he's never going to be
No,
convinced.
I think he will.
I wonder if he'll.
You know what I believe?
I wonder what the response would be if you like talk about Rogue not making it through, like on broadcast with Artosis, assuming just guessing that Artosis is there and other people are there. Like if you're just like if you just get into a conversation and are like, oh man, yeah, Rogue had a bit of a rough time, and you just kind of like look at him and then like don't say anything for a while and see what happens.
I can almost say, like, I can actually imagine how Artosis is going to react. So I don't know if I want to mimic it, you know, but I can almost imagine exactly how he's going to react if that happens. So I think we kind of generally agree that the format could be better. I think that's where we've landed.
I think the final thing to say is as well, it's like this is true across like all of the esports World Cup games. Like they are trying to make different formats than usual in pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just like also a side effect of that for whatever reason.
I do think that that this is just change for the sake of change. Yeah.
I guess it's I don't know how it's formulated, you know, behind the scenes, but it I think, you know, another discussion about the format as well as the broadcast style of StarCraft could be had. I think I talked about this in one of our previous shows, which would be impossible for y'all to find, but just that I remember having this really like this big need to have this overhaul of how we do our stuff before COVID. Yeah, before COVID. So a long time ago at this point.
I was gonna say, I think Ravi had, because he like reads the rule book, right?
Yeah, what a nerd.
He does.
Yeah, what a fucking nerd. And I'm pretty sure he had like a big rant about it. And it was a good rant too. It was like a proper rant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and I have talked about like the formats, but then also as just like the broadcast style, because it was so overdone leading to 2020. Then COVID hit, and we were just so happy to have anything back that was normal in 2022-ish that, you know, the conversation or the drive kind of got lost again. But once again, I am here asking if maybe we need a different format, or maybe also or a different kind of broadcast style, because we've had this almost same exact setup. I will, before I just totally end on a negative note, they actually have attempted to change some of like the styling of the broadcast. They've added the, like, State was supposed to be only an analyst, although that was a little funky. They had the telestrator more prominent in the last tournament. They had changed the background of our broadcast setup, and it was actually pretty cool. They have tried to like add the Christmas themes and stuff. Like, I know they're trying to do what they can, but it just kind of sucks that we're still looking exactly like WCS in 2014. Or, well, I think we don't wear t-shirts anymore. But that's like, otherwise the broadcast is very similar to that. So we have our agreement that the format could change. That's where we're at. Now let's talk about the players. Let's talk about the groups. We got Group A. Maru versus Spirit, Oliveira, Beyond, Gumiho, Estrella, and Here Marine Dark. I will go first on who I think are going to win on the 4 matches that we have. And I think it is Maru win, but Spirit's going to give him a real challenge. Nice. Oliveira wins, but that is a real tough one to call, I think.
Maru Oliveira rematch.
Yeah, I think it's what's going to happen. And I think it's going to, yeah. I don't know who's going to win that one. I think Maru is supposed to, just like he was supposed to back in Katowice, but it's a real question mark for sure. Then I think Gumiho wins. I think they're both preparation-based players, but Gumiho just has better results overall. And Estrella does have some, like, I feel like weaknesses that can be abused with preparation. Hitting before his greed pays off, basically, is a consistent problem for him. And then here, Marine Dark, I do think Dark's going to win. And I do think Dark Maru is going to be the upper bracket final, of which I actually think Dark is going to win. So That's my prediction. Let's go to CatZ next.
I like it. I mean, I think I'm going to guess pretty similar here. I mean, Maru Spirit, I also like your idea. Spirit's going to give him a run for his money. I'm an Oliveira believer here. Like, I feel like, you know, when he got the world championship, like he wasn't as good. And now he is kind of like actually like a world caliber player. And it shows when he wins, like, you know, Korean tournaments, like 2 weeks in a row type thing is kind of like evidence of that more consistent Oliveira that we're seeing. So I think he will take on Beyond, and I think he will take Maru. So that's, I guess, my diversion there. I think for Gumiho Estrella, it could go either way. Estrella did win the last 2 times that he faced Gumiho, but overall Gumiho usually has his number. I agree. Estrella's either greed or cheese. He's a very like all or nothing type player, right? And I love the way that he cuts corners. So it's kind of like mind games and whether he can, you know, cut the better corners for his opponent. I think a lot. I want to believe in him, so I'll say Estrella for that. Dark, I guess, versus Hero Marine is maybe the easiest one with Dark winning. Hero Marine's just too healthy as of late of a human being, and then yeah, probably Dark, and I like Dark winning the bracket as well over Oliveira.
Did you say Hero Marine is too healthy of a being right now?
Yeah, he's not. He's not grinding as much.
He's not being a degen.
He's going too much to the gym. Yeah.
He's too healthy.
Losing too much weight, yeah.
Okay. All right, Wardi.
Yeah, I think Maru gone bet against him in the big events. Can he, like, Spirit really should have been able to do better last time he played Maru. He just kind of let it fall apart. I'm gonna say Maru, Björn, Gumiho Estrella is a real coin flip. I think maybe Gumiho and Dark. I think Dark beats Gumiho. I think Maru goes all the way. No, maybe Maru beats Dark. Dark beats Maru. It's hard to say.
That's where it's coming down to. I think everyone's pretty much guessing that. There is a chance that the TVT for Maru does go poorly. I know we all kind of maybe rightfully made fun of a certain commentator talking about his TVT being his weakness, but you could say that he has a lot of high-profile TVTs where he actually looks like he is.
I remember this, but
struggling.
You gotta say the name. Name them.
No.
Name them.
Name them. Never. No, but Tasteless said it, and everyone just kind of like looked at each other.
This was when he had like an 85% win rate.
Yes, it is.
Against like, and this is when TY was still active and like Innovation had only just retired recently. Like this was like,
I guess, yeah.
This was a fucking earth-shattering statement.
Yeah, it was an odd one, but you know, he could have phrased it better, certainly, because a lot of his high-profile matches end up being TVT, I would say. Because Oliveira and Katowice, Cure is his nemesis, or wannabe nemesis. He doesn't actually win enough to be a nemesis. And then sometimes Spirit in these tournaments like actually surprises in TVT. Maru's lost to the likes of Here Marine. He actually lost a game to CatZ. Like, for someone who we at one point could never envision even losing a game in TVT, like at one point his TVT was actually unbelievable. He then started to slip more because it was the target on his back. So everyone also learned how he was doing well and, copied him to a certain extent, I'm sure. But also were just like, if we beat this guy, this is actually bigger than if we win the freaking tournament. Like, everyone's going to be talking about it. So I would actually agree that there is a chance that he slips up in TVT. And I think the guys that he could potentially face are really gunning for him in particular. So beyond always trying to 8-racks him and win, almost always a little unsuccessful, little not quite there. And then Oliveira, literally in the rematch from Katowice, is also just a really good player. And I agree with Kat. It kind of feels like that was the breakout shining moment that you're like, okay, 1 in a million. But he's ascended to a point where it's now like he is the one that touches the gods, which sounded weird, not as cool as I was hoping. He's the one that fights the gods. He fights Mauro and Cyril where nowhere else can. So that's pretty cool. But easier money is probably on Mauro still.
Yeah. To be fair as well, though, I feel like when Maru underperforms, sometimes it's like there's other outside circumstances. Like dropping a map to Kelleser was right after TVT got completely changed, and no one kind of had any idea with the new Cyclone and stuff like that, right? So that is kind of where a player like Kelleser does shine, because he's very creative, very smart at coming up with new approaches and trying up new things. Whereas Maru, I feel like he scales, right? Like he's always improving in his game and like getting better and better, and his game is just rock solid. But that's why I feel like Oliveira also has a solid chances, because I see him as that same type of player where, like you mentioned, Bian comes in with the 8-racks and you kind of expect that he'll try to do something, because he probably expects that he can't compete with Maru in the latest stages of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Steadfast. Sorry.
So I'm going to start things off by saying they had to put all the Terrans somewhere that qualified for this tournament.
Of course.
So the funny thing is, you would look at this and you'd be like, oh, okay, so there's no more Terrans in the tournament, right? And then you go down to Group B and there's still 3 more. But yeah, it makes it for a really funny top side of the bracket. I do think, Maru is going to... I think he's going to cruise to a relatively easy victory versus Spirit. I don't think Spirit's going to look bad against him, but I think it's going to be pretty comfortable victory for Maru. Oliveira Bian is a really interesting one, because whoever comes out of that, either it's Bian looking like Bian can look, which is very scary, or it's Oliveira who's like in that final boss form. And either one of them is a really scary matchup for Maru. And here's my hot take for the Group A. If Maru loses to Oliveira in the upper bracket semifinal, he is going to the knockout bracket. He is not making it through in the lower bracket into that second versus second match. I'm thinking he gets knocked down.
Wow,
because I think something weird is going to happen where
sure.
Dark somehow also gets knocked to the lower bracket, and then just like it's like when somebody gets pushed out of a plane mid boss fight, and the other guy's like, oh well, fuck this, you're not getting away, and he jumps out of the plane to beat the shit out of him on the way down. That's gonna be Dark in the lower bracket if Maru loses.
This makes so little sense. I know it. I mean, it could happen. It could definitely happen. You'll be a prophet.
And the other thing is, Gumiho has actually been a real thorn in Maru's side in a few matches, and I think Gumiho could beat Maru in a lower bracket situation too, where you already have a Maru who's like in his head. It's specifically, I don't think if he loses to Bian in the upper bracket semifinals it'll necessarily happen, but if he loses to Oliveira, he's going to be in his head almost for sure, because then you're like, oh my god, it fucking happened again. It fucking happened. And you start getting the yips, and we've seen with the most recent 0-4 loss to Cyril, Maru's not immune to that shit. Maru is not immune to getting in his own head against certain players. But that's my like, if X happens, then Y will happen. That's my bold prediction. Gumiho Estrella, that's going to be a really good match. I'm really excited about that one. I do think Gumiho is going to come out with it just because he's such an evil genius. He's such a mastermind. But then I think it's going to be Dark taking down Hero Marine. And then I think Dark will win against whoever wins between Gumiho and Estrella, because Dark is just he already had Final Bass energy. Now he's got dad energy too. And like it somehow made him like more wholesome and also scarier.
Yeah.
So he's gonna for sure make upper bracket finals. And then I actually think anyone but Oliveira he's gonna beat in the upper bracket finals. I think if it's Dark Oliveira, I think Oliveira is actually gonna make it to Final Four. And then if it's Maru getting knocked down to the lower bracket before that, I'm gonna say it's Dark making it through the lower bracket final.
Yeah, these are not as hot as your other takes today. I like them.
Not as hot. I like
Yeah.
Not as hot.
They're a little spicy, but I actually agree. I think there actually is a decent chance that the star players of this bracket fumble a little bit. And then, yeah, have to duke it out in the lower bracket. It's going to be interesting. I do think there are some players, and we'll talk about one coming up soon, that if they lose initially, it's going to be more of a struggle for them to recover than just the fact that they're facing a lot of good players. I think we all got our say in Group A here. So Group B is where one of those players is. So Cyril Coffee, I do think Cyril's going to win. Sorry, Coffee. Hero Solar, I think Hero's going to win. He's winning against him most recently. Solar's looking a little off, so on and so forth. Cure Rainer, I think Rainer actually wins almost one-sidedly. Cure's matchup in this matchup is not his best. Sometimes it can be really good, like last year's Gamers 8, but then most of the time it's really literally not his best. And Rainer's been practicing a lot and looks like in really good shape. And then Classic Clem, I think Clem is supposed to win. He's winning against Classic all the time online. But this is another preparation-based player who I think can do really well given this format. Like, I know who I'm facing first. And if Clem doesn't get a hot start in a tournament, he really struggles to get there eventually. So I would 100% be most concerned for Clem's first match compared to the rest, even though, as Wardi was saying, it's such a brutal format. If you do lose your first round, it's like, to me, it's even more important for Clem. But I'm going to say Clem wins. Classic's going to probably have a lot of really cheeky stuff. And it might look like some of the TVPs from last tournament for Clem, which were a little ugly. But because he gets thrown off, I think. But, yeah, CatZ, your opinions?
Yeah, for sure, Cyril. I mean, Hero versus Solar, I want to see Hero win, just the Protosses. I think there's going to be an over-under for the Protosses. I feel like they usually don't make it past the round of 8, and it would be really nice if we have 1 or 2, so Hero's the hope there. Cure Rainer, I agree with you. Like, Rainer's just better than Cure, I think, but the issue here is Rainer, I think for me, has the opposite problem of Clem, where he tends to lose early sometimes and then recover. He's kind of like he's got a lot of comeback energy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he drops here, and I also wouldn't be surprised if he goes all the way to through the lower bracket after. But I'll say more likely than not Rainer, and then also more likely than not Clem. Then Cyril versus Hero. I think it's gonna be an awesome match. I think Hero can actually beat Cyril, and Cyril, you know, like is coming from kind of uncertainty to some degree. So I'm gonna go with the upset there and say Hero. Like, I think he's gonna prepare some crazy stuff. He's already gonna be prepping for Solar as well, right? So his PVC is likely gonna be on point, and he's the best trickster, I think, in the world. And I think that's the way to beat Cyril is to trick him. So I want to say Hero there just for the lulz. And then Rainer versus Clem. That's tough. A bit of a toss-up. I mean, Rainer has been doing really well recently as well, right? So, I'll say Rainer, and then Hero versus Rainer. I'll say Hero again to the final 4.
Wow. I think that's a very
Hero
hot
kind of
take,
best, yeah.
personally. It'd be one of my ideal worlds, honestly, because actually Cyril is one of those few guys who I think we'd still be convinced he would make it through, even if he dropped a series. He could drop the first 2 series and be in the first round of the knockout bracket, and we'd be like, he's probably going to make it through. He's all right. He's doing fine. He just has that aura. So I think that would be the most interesting thing for me. A guaranteed Protoss in the final 4 because Hero would make it through in your Vision, and then Cyril.
I'd be so happy to see Protoss do better than top 8.
Yeah. I like it. Wardi.
I think Cyril Hero, then Reno Clem. Kind of just echo what you guys said. I think Clem should be classic. But it depends what kind of Clem shows up. Maybe Reno as well gets the jitters or something. Kind of Q just knocks him, because I feel like Reno sometimes in ZVT does just get a little behind, just can't seem to pull it back lately for some reason. But I think he should kind of smash Q. And then from there, I feel like Cyril is just the favorite all out in that group. But obviously, I think Hero could beat Cyril. Reno could beat Cyril. Clem could beat Cyril. I don't think it's worth picking between Clem and Reno. Those guys always just put up such a great match against each other. So I really mean, like, it's like an impossible group to really pick apart from just saying Cyril. Like, if Cyril doesn't make it, it could be any one of Hero, Reno, Clem, in my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Classic had a really good tournament Gamers 8 last year. I mean, I'm a believer in patterns, and this is basically this year's Gamers 8, or last year was that EWC, whatever you want to say. So that could happen, but it's like, no matter how you slice it, everyone, but maybe some more in particular, but everyone really needs to worry most about this first round. Getting that momentum is going to be pretty big. Steadfast.
Yeah, I mean, Cyril's gonna do really well there. It'll be a nice viewership boost to watch him murder someone on live TV. Hero Solar is gonna be a good match, but once again I gotta echo that Hero's gonna take that one. Cure Raynor, I think I have to agree that I feel like Raynor's in really good form right now. The last few weeks of the ESL Opens, it feels like he kind of has strolled into Katowice, and he was doing like his hardcore practice. He was really focused on that, but he still kind of had this like expectation, I think, that he was gonna win, and he got served some humble pie pretty damn hard. And this practice setup going into EWC feels like the same practice setup the last time, where he was like, he came in and he was, kind of quiet, and he quietly showed us some of the highest level Zerg play we've ever seen, if not the highest level Zerg play we've ever seen. And it feels a lot more to me like that than it does like when he was going into Katowice. So I think Raynor's going to really shine there. And I think if he does win his first round match against Cure, he's going to be pretty borderline unstoppable. Classic Clem is a really interesting one as well, because I feel like Clem has not been as focused since he won DreamHack Atlanta. DreamHack Atlanta, basically last Christmas. Because that was like something that was like 2 years of culmination, basically. That was us quote unquote expecting him to win, and him working his ass off to do so. And then kind of since then, it feels like he's maybe not slacked off. I don't want to say slacked off, but he doesn't have that level of intense drive that you need to necessarily win a championship again. So I don't know. I could see a situation where even if he does win that first round match, it's a Clem that gets top 8 or top 12 or however the fuck the format works. Whatever it is. Like, I don't think he's going to be a threat to win the tournament necessarily. Unless he and he even went to Korea to play the Stormgate tournament, which is definitely will have taken away from his practice for SC2 for sure.
Yeah,
he was very good at Zero Space, Stormgate, and Battle Aces. So yeah, he played it like everything.
he did.
Yeah, so like that like single focus of being just like a pure dog is not as strong as it was.
Yeah.
Exactly. He got the monkey off his back, and it took a tiny bit of an edge off of his play. Does that mean that he's not a world-class player? Absolutely not. He is absolutely still a world-class player. But I don't know. I would love to see him do really well. Regardless, I do think Classic actually is going to beat him in the first round. And then I think it's going to be, what is that? That would be Classic, Raynor. I actually think Classic's going to beat Raynor.
I mean,
Yeah, I
Classic
think
does have
Classic-
like 8 monkeys on his back right now. So like,
He really does.
going by
Yeah.
that logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Classic's going to be upper bracket final, and then I think it's going to be Classic Cyril in the upper bracket final. I think Cyril's going to beat Hero, and I think Classic's actually going to make it.
Wow.
He did it.
I just
Okay.
what do you think Classic's gonna do to beat Clem? I just don't understand how
To beat
Like,
Clem,
in a best
I think
of
he'll go
five-
Sky Toss. He'll go Storm Sky Toss.
Yeah, he's gonna die. He's gonna die with 2 carriers every game.
You think so?
Like, yeah, because well, I don't think he can do that because that's literally what he does every single game. And if he comes to World Cup and does that, Clem's gonna absolutely dismantle him. There's no way you can. I feel like that's his build because it's like, hey, I'm playing online cups before the biggest like tournament in the world. I'm just gonna play like if I get a chance to throw down Stargates after Storm, I'm gonna do it. So I just don't think he gets away with that at World Cup. I think he has to come in with like a completely different play style.
But Classic,
And then I actually
Classic
think that's
can
better
come
for
up with
Clem.
something different for sure.
The thing is, he doesn't only play that. He just plays that as a comfort play because it's really fucking good.
He does pretty much only play that. Like the only reason he doesn't play that is because he died already.
But Classic, you remember that BlizzCon where he did like blink DTs and also
Yeah, I mean-
weird like
I mean,
crazy
I
shit?
think-
Like
I think he needs to show up with the crazy shit, but I actually think that's better for Clem than a Classic that actually plays his comfort style. But I actually think Clem
Yeah.
would be too prepared for his comfort. That's why I mean I don't see how Classic wins the series unless Clem. Like I just don't see how
unless Classic
wins that.
prepared as much as he did back then for BlizzCon, right? Like he's also kind of fresh, like comeback, right? So you usually want to work on your style a little bit and do things consistently, get back up there. But maybe he's comfortable enough to be that Classic that shows up with the craziest builds in the tournament. And
I mean, he invented a new style at Gamers 8 last year. Like he invented the +1 blink into Storm off 3 bases, and that's
he's a big
like
game player. Like in
Yeah.
big tournaments, he does tend to come up with new shit. So I wouldn't be too surprised. But I agree with Wardi. Like as the reality check, like as it looks right now, like it doesn't feel like he should win.
I feel like if he plays that Stargate style, that just means that the game has gone on for a little bit, which means that Clem
That's what
has
I'm
gotten,
thinking.
Well, no, that means that Clem's gotten ramped up. Like I'm with Wardi. Because I think actually the worst case scenario for Clem is that he doesn't warm up enough and he goes into game 1 versus Classic and Classic like proxy gates him 3-gate, and he's just a little shaky because he's not warmed up yet, so he mismicros his Reaper and it's not the perfect micro hold that we expect. And then game 2 he messes up another. Like we've seen Clem have snowball losses, or at the very least look like he's struggling way more than you would expect to win against some guy he's facing. So that's why I believe Classic has a chance. But I'm with Wardi that if he plays like he's been playing, then that just doesn't make sense that Classic wins because Clem literally beats him right now with all the online styles that he's playing. So
Yeah.
but
I think that's the agreement. He has to come up with something crazy.
Yeah, we're actually all in agreement to an extent. Steadfast thinks
Yeah.
that Classic will come up with something to beat Clem, and then we'll beat Clem, and then we'll beat Cyril, and that's fine. But I think it's kind of the discussion of whether or not we think he could really come up with something good enough to take him down in a best of 5.
But isn't it? It's just a best of 3 versus Clem to start things off. No.
No, it's best of 5.
No, it's best of 3. No.
I'm pretty sure all of them are best of 5s.
I think it's
let's
all
double
best
check
of
that.
5. On
Yeah.
The,
And in the
Oh, in
brackets,
the upper
yeah.
bracket. Yeah, it's the lower bracket. It's best of
it's the
3.
lower-
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Well,
That's tougher. Yeah.
That does actually change things.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I should have said that to begin with.
It's
Then my
just the
bad.
knockout bracket. Just
Yeah, it's just a knockout
bracket.
bracket. It's best of 3. Yeah.
2 rounds. Everything
Oh,
else is
man.
apparently even round 3 of the knockout bracket is best of 3 as well. That's
I was gonna point that out when you guys were talking about these like scenarios in the lower bracket. I was like, it's fucking insane that again you could be
Yeah.
a much more favored
I just-
player, and yet you get knocked down to a best of 3 knockout. Like insane.
I don't understand why we start at best of 5s and we go into best of 3s doesn't make any sense as well. Like
Yeah.
no,
like
not
tournaments
really.
for past
And I do feel like looking at the Protosses as well, like I feel so much worse for them in best of 5s, like all 3 of them, right? Like 'cause Protoss is like kind of tricky, and yeah, best of 5 is just tougher for that.
Yeah.
In one sense, it's tougher, but in one sense, it's also a boon because then you can bust out the wonky, kooky shit, and you have like a quote unquote free map to do it without being instantly on elimination point.
Yeah,
Like,
but
if you-
you'd rather. I mean, if you, I see. You're saying it's like a safety net to do crazy like
Yeah.
builds. Yeah, but I think those trickeries, like successful trickery, is a part of their arsenal that they should probably want to capitalize on, right? So the less games, the more likely that has an impact if it's worth doing.
Interesting. I guess that all comes down to like who's more confident, really, like
Yeah.
in the series, in the games.
If it was stats, like if stats was here, I'd be like, yeah, have him play all the best of fives, right? And that's kind of where he'll thrive. Or
Yeah.
Showtime, yeah, best of five Showtime sounds good to me. But when you see hero like Estrella, especially and classic, depending on which classic shows up, like I feel like they rely a lot more on the tricky styles and tricking their opponents and outsmarting and
I feel like
out-microing.
Classic's so comfortable in a macro game though. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's so interesting because I feel so different about this than the way you guys do. Yeah. About like Clem's form, like his TVP is absolutely top notch, and unlike TVZ where you have to be practicing 10 hours a day, or ZVT, to like keep it pristine. It doesn't necessarily feel that way for TVP. I don't know. I feel like like maybe he can do it, like Classic, that is. But it being a best of 5 does kind of change the math on that in my mind a little. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, but it's gonna be banger matches for sure. I think you're muted, ZG.
I am muted. The first game will tell us a lot between those two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll get a really good understanding of where they are. But the pro gamers I talked to are also on the side of Clem. They say that he's like, I think everyone agreed that he actually was not playing as much post Atlanta. And Oliveira even made kind of like a cheeky statement on it when he was doing his breakdown of his games. He was like, oh, he's a young kid. He's out, partying and stuff. But I think from what I've heard is that he's actually really buckled down again. So my concern is definitely... And Mono literally said I think he even doesn't realize how much he needs to warm up and get going before he gets into a tournament. So my concern for Clem is, does he get enough warm up? Is he right off the bat ready to go? Then is he practicing StarCraft 2 entirely for the last 2 weeks, or that Stormgate thing kind of mix things up? And 3, he's actually going to Saudi directly from Korea. So he has a longer travel day and worse jet lag to deal with than if he had gone from France. Which I thought was very interesting.
When will he be arriving? Do you know?
I don't know. Probably the 13th. 12th or 13th, if I had to guess.
Damn.
He might even come...
There's no way he arrives on the 13th.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the tournament
insane.
starts with the 14th, right? Yeah, so no, he had to show up on the 12th.
Even the 12th is not a lot of time, to be honest.
No, it isn't.
That's pretty typical for flying in. Maybe if you asked for the 11th, they would give it to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he asks for it...
They're not going to not fly you in early if you ask, but
yeah,
it's kind of down to you.
And hopefully he does, but that's the last I've heard, is that he's just going direct, which I was surprised by. I thought he actually had enough time to fly back and get comfortable and then go to Saudi, but those are the reasons I'm worried. Otherwise, yeah, it's just... I think, I've gotten some also different opinions about kind of the general atmosphere of the tournament. We've got the biggest prize pool in history. We've got basically all the top tier players in the world. And we also have what could potentially be the last tournament of the circuit. All right. So that's a lot of pressure. And it's another aspect of why this first match, this first best of 5, the first game best of 5 is also so important. It feels like, despite as veteran as these guys are, there's going to be a different feel. I think Gamers 8 also had a different feel last year, and that favored some people and really didn't favor others. So it could be wild. It could actually be more upsets than we expect. That's at least a couple people's opinions. Or it could just be straight up actually the best games we've ever seen because everyone's practicing so hard for this.
I believe it. I think we'll see insane games for sure.
I think there'll be some 100%
the games are going to be
insane
nutty.
games.
You know, it's always different. It's always different at Katowice and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are locked in. You go on your friends list in StarCraft right now, like they're in customs all of the time.
Yeah.
Like my Korean friends list is usually like 4 people long, unless there's like an open cup and it's like 10 people long. You can go on like any time of the day right now, and it's like 12 plus players on there. They're all in a party with someone. They're all in a custom. Like they are grinding. It's like super obvious.
Yep.
So yeah, it's gonna be good.
Also a bit of a
Yeah,
sad
that's-
commentary though, because apparently all the ladders are dead. Now that's part
Well-
because they're playing so many customs, but it also apparently is just the reality.
The
something like that for a while.
Wardi is, by the way, friends with all the Korean players, just in case. Like, it's not a big deal, but like he is
Not a big
friends
deal,
with all the Korean. Not a
If
big
they're
deal,
not on my
but, like-
friends list, they basically don't exist. you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I
But
do.
like,
It's not quite the statement that you made that one time. What was it? You're the bridge between the
Oh, the gods and the human. You're Jesus.
I walk both worlds.
Jesus. You both were I love that one. That's
That was a good one.
an all-time
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved back in the day you didn't have to accept the friend requests. Like if someone added you as a friend, it just you were their friend and you weren't theirs. So that's how I stalked a bunch of Korean players back in the day.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
when
and then
you-
they
when you-
changed it.
Didn't you need their character code or something? Or was that like
I don't
after
think
that?
so. Like I'm pretty sure I
Uh,
didn't actually ask Fantasy for his, his character code. I just added it.
you can still do that
Oh.
actually if you wait till they're offline.
Oh really?
Or you can just add them.
You can
And
just
then you
add
can
them.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I
it's
gotta
a-
up my
it's-
stalking game again. I'm
You
a
don't
very
have to head
shy
out in, like,
stalker. I
10
can't
minutes,
ask them
just a
for
heads
their friends list permission first. I just have to like stalk them in the shadows. All right, today we learned something about StarCraft. You can add friends when they're offline.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Notably against their will.
Literally, yes. Like if they don't want to be tracked by ZombieGrub, they just need to stop playing StarCraft. Like I saw Parting log on yesterday. Told the whole chat.
Oh.
I was like, what is he doing logging on to StarCraft? I thought he was playing every other game in the universe.
Probably misclicked.
He meant to play
He
Hearthstone.
doesn't misclick.
He like woke up and like autopiloted to StarCraft, and he was like, "Oh, I'm too tired to play right now." I didn't even open the right game.
Yeah. Now it's gonna take forever. Oh god. StarCraft is so unoptimized. I think we covered the entirety of the bracket except for the knockout bracket. What are your chances for Showtime and Shin to make it to the round of 4? I'm gonna say 10%. CatZ
5%.
5%. Wardi
Ion 0? Like,
Very low, yeah.
less than 1%. Nice.
Yeah.
Steadfast.
I was gonna go with 10% as well.
Oh, okay. We're the
I think it
optimists
works.
here,
I mean-
Steadfast.
I think Showtime's playing insanely well right now. Insanely well.
Yeah.
it's just when you consider what the bracket's going to look like. It's best of 3s. Maybe that favors a Shin. Maybe that actually favors a Showtime a little bit, but the bracket's going to be freaking stacked. And like they're gonna go in and like they are gonna play one best of 3, and that's it. That's what they flew there for. You know, like
Yep.
I feel like
You
that's
could-
like it's not like the other guys. Like yeah, it's their last chance, but at least they've gotten comfortable and played a couple of games. I feel like they had a massive disadvantage by just showing up and like this is their first best of 3, do or die straight away.
Yep.
Don't know against who.
Yeah, you don't know
Yeah,
against who.
No preparation, exactly. I think it's a terrible chance for them.
Well, they actually don't have to arrive until the 16th, but they don't play games until the 17th.
I guess they probably arrive early for media anyway, though.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Like,
There
they might
will
just be
be.
allowed. Yeah.
There is something to be said though that even though yes they don't get to warm up, they also don't have to play a bunch of games. Like think about the player that comes third in their knockout bracket, or sorry, in Group A or Group B. They've probably played 6 or 7 ultra high intensity best of 5s of the course of the last couple days. Mental fatigue could be a little bit of a factor at that point.
Could be.
It's not something to completely dismiss. I'm not saying I prefer Showtime or Shin's situation. Absolutely, I don't. But I think that we can't just be like, oh, yeah, they're going to be warmed up and take out of the account the fact that they've played a bunch of high level.
I think I would agree if it wasn't so spread out, because I think they play. I think they don't play lower. I think they play the first 2 rounds of lower bracket on day 2 and the second 2 on day 3. So, like, say they did go all the way to the lower bracket final, then lost, then still they've played like 5 best of 5s over 3 days. If it was anything short, I kind of agree, but I don't know. I think it's, I don't know.
Yeah, they really
to
don't
say.
have many advantages because you can't even guarantee that they'll be able to learn what their opponent would do in their matchup because they're also the 2 least represented races. So it's very possible that they face someone who's played nothing but Terran. So it's not even like you get insight into what they're going to do versus you. So it's brutal. It's actually the most brutal I think I've ever seen it be. Like, even if you show up at a LAN just as the open LAN portion, you still get a group.
Yeah.
You still get 2 series.
You still get
So,
2 best of 3s. Like, when have we ever gone for a best of 3?
yeah, that's actually
Best
really
of 3
insane.
specifically is the crazy part.
It is, and it is weird because, you know, they've been happy with knockout being best of 5 for the other tournaments. I know it's different time constraints, a different format, but it's like I guess because it was never mentioned, maybe they didn't realize how good it was. I don't know, but they should probably have it best of 5s.
I just hate this knockout bracket. We could have just made the double elim bracket better.
Wow, the entire knockout bracket is in one day too. That just dawned on me.
Oh,
yeah.
Beyond that, I gotta head out in 5 minutes. But who do you guys think wins?
Cyril.
Yeah, I think you're crazy if you don't say Cyril.
Yeah.
It's real?
I think he's still
Now-
very
Yeah,
favored.
like you look,
Yes.
you cannot look at how he played in Dallas
Yeah.
and just not say he's the favorite. Like, can he lose? Yes, but I would say it's like a 50% chance Cyril wins. If he wins
I was
this
gonna
tournament
say-
twice, he wins once.
That's high.
easily.
That's
I was
very
gonna say
high.
I don't even think we're talking about who wins the tournament. I think what is the tournament? What is the chance? The chance? I think that's the more interesting question: is what do you think Cyril's chance of winning the tournament is?
Oh, like
I would
80%.
say
okay.
30%. And I would usually give him 50%, but I don't know. There's like, what about the uncertainty? Like, he has to drop off a little bit, right, from the army
No.
and whatnot eventually.
But he didn't in Dallas, like
He
at all.
didn't, is the crazy
and he-
thing.
I mean,
He also had
no, he-
2
yeah,
weeks to
exactly.
only prepare for this. At least 2 weeks, from what I understand. They let him
Oh,
only
he
prepare
got
for this.
special.
he's been home for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That changes my maths.
Okay.
That
All
that
right.
is actually that is groundbreaking information right here. You heard it here first, folks. Cyril got a
30%.
recess from the army to practice StarCraft 2 even more so.
I don't think
I
it's
do
even
wanna say-
favoritism. Other athletes do it too.
Yeah, I mean, Cyril has to be the favorite, like, yeah, especially if he has been preparing. But I do want to say there's a lot of like awesome storylines. I would love to see, Oliveira perform or win. That would be incredible, right? Like, it's kind of like the repeat or.
Oh, okay. If you ask who my heart wants to win, that is a
Yeah,
very
let's go
different
with that.
question.
Let's go with
I
that.
really want Dark to win. It'll be his
Oh,
10th
same.
premiere.
Dark would be
He'll be
so
a
good.
dad champion. I think he'll
He's
like
the
tear
best,
up again.
He's the best StarCraft, in my opinion. Like, the best StarCraft to watch is Dark StarCraft. For me.
I really, really want him to win. I want him to win Katowice. And then stupid Mara versus Cyril happened. So glad I dodged that
That was
finals
awesome.
bullet. Thanks, Wardi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, Reignar
Sure.
going Super Saiyan also would be such a cool storyline. Or, like, if Clem won, we'd get so much emotional as well, which would be amazing. I mean, there's so many that would be awesome.
CatZ, you're usually into like the betting numbers and stuff. Do you not have a site that has like odds for like the winner? 'Cause that'd be genuine.
No, I haven't been betting on esports recently.
Yeah, I know, but
Because, yeah.
usually you just know, or you check it or something. I mean, I checked the site that I know, but they don't have one up for like who just wins straight up. I'd be genuinely curious to see what Cyril's odds are.
They probably can't put it up there.
I mean, over the years,
use it
over the
so hard
years-
that it's not worth putting it.
I will tell you, over the years, you're spot on. It's like usually been like 50%. It's like Cyril pays 2-1 to win, and everyone else pays, starting at 4, 5, 6, 20, 100, right? But
Which is
yeah.
crazy, by the way, for a long form tournament with more
It's
than like
insane.
4 or 8
Yeah.
competitors.
That's just how good Cyril is.
Yeah,
it really
exactly,
is. Like,
exactly.
it's- for the last
And
5 years, he actually has 50% chance to win every tournament he enters.
But, I mean, if you
and
look at his
and
results
he
as well,
outperforms that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
you would actually be pretty rich if you just bet on Cyril to win every
Yeah,
time. Even though they
actually.
give you like terrible odds, like he actually outperforms the odds. It's like one of the
It's
rare.
actually insane. It's
Yeah, they're
insane.
trying to like catch up to him with the odds. Like they keep making it steeper and steeper, and it's just like we can't catch him. Like he's just that good. It's yeah.
I like how the more actual numbers and data that's come out, the more that Cyril is the GOAT. because there's also that Reddit
Yeah, for
post
sure. I mean,
that
yeah,
like
for
just
sure.
deep dove into how good he was.
The thing is, to me, he's been the GOAT for like 3 or 4 years, right? So it's like kind of insane that he's not the GOAT to everyone. Like this, in spite of the last 4
Sure.
years being even better.
I was kind of I was not ready to say it, 2021, 2022,
Yeah.
23. I was like,
Yeah, I
if
think
I
that's
had to
fair. I think,
choose.
I always start with the hot takes, It's like,
You do,
yeah, like maybe
yeah.
he's not, but
But now it's no longer a hot take. Now you're old.
no.
Now it's the coldest take of all. The funny
It's
thing
the
is,
coldest take there is.
I
only
was
one
like,
thing.
if I said Maru had a chance to open the book back up if he beat Cyril at Katowice, and then he got 4-0'd in like one of the most dominant showings, and then you're like, wow, okay, well, Cyril just kind of put like a chain on like a padlock on the book.
What was
Can we
Dallas
open
then?
the book now? And then Dallas
Dallas
happened,
was
and he fucking
brutal.
buried the book at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. And you're like, okay, well, I guess Maru can unbury that book if he wins
Every tournament this year.
EWC.
Yeah.
That series was so brutal. I went back. I was off on the last series or for the finals. So I went back to the hotel. I was just like, I'm just gonna go like watch the games, and I'll walk back over when it's like, after like 3 maps. I got back to my room, which is connected to the venue. So it was like literally just a walk, 10 minutes. I sat down. 10 minutes later, I was like, I gotta go. It's like 3-0 or something already. And then they're like messaging like, hey, the photo on stage now. I'm like, I'm not even halfway back there. I start running. I think I'm gonna miss the photo. I was like, God damn it. Shouldn't have left. Like it was an absolute bop.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I knew
do
it
have
was.
to head out. I got a meeting. So
No worries. Thanks, sir.
Let's see.
Stopping
Thank you,
by,
guys.
Cats. Appreciate it.
take care. I appreciate you. Just
Yeah,
go figure out where the ninja is.
The finals, I knew was going to be so one-sided. I really did not want to cast it. But it's what happened. The Dallas finals? No, Dallas. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was brutal. Fortunately, yeah. Yeah. No, legitimately. It's a pretty crazy difference. The thing is though is that this was never actually all that contentious anyway. Like even before Katowice's bop. Oh, sorry, they're muted, my bad. So, I'm not muted, but even while they were bopped, shit, I lost my train of thought. I need to add application audio. There we go. You guys will be able to hear me now. So,
Hello.
Oh, cool.
before Katowice's bop, there wasn't even that close of a tournament of a match anyway. There was what best match was that before Cyril Maru? Maybe there was like a WSG or something where it was really good, right?
Oh, there wasn't. There was. The problem is they played a couple of times online in like King of Battles, where it was conveniently the first match of the tournament every time they had one. But like, I don't think it was ever good. Like, you look at the win rate in itself is just ridiculous. Like Cyril is 15-4, 43-19 against Maru.
It's a really one-sided, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like the last time Cyril lost to Maru was in Masters Coliseum, and then Cyril smashed him 3-0 in the playoffs of the same tournament. Like, just yeah, I don't know.
There's really nothing about
Okay.
it that would make me excited at this point. There wasn't that much about it that excited me to begin with, except there was maybe a promise of really amazing TVZ. But then there was also this period of time where TVZ was actually super boring. It was nothing but turtling. They got exciting again, and then that happened, and when Cyril would 4-0 the guy. So by the time
There
I was
was
even
a-
hoping for good TVZ, it was already too late.
There was that game on Radu set that we cast at Katowice that was kind of cool, but like Cyril was kind of winning the whole time as well, right? Like it's one of those things where like, even when they have a cool game, I feel like Cyril's still winning. Yeah, Cyril Maru's just lost all of its charm from what it should have been. It's so sad.
And you know what would
Well-
be a really good finals instead is, non-jokingly, Dark versus Cyril. I know we're gonna get hate because it's ZVZ, and that's fine. But I actually think that would be a really cool finals. ZVZ is a fine matchup to watch, in my opinion. And it does suck, just with the race thing. Like, you're always gonna have 2/3 of the viewing population be like, "Oh, it feels bad," but it would be a really cool story, and I think the games would actually be really good, and it'd be the best chance to actually kill Cyril. So at least a semifinal. Maybe we'll have one of those like semifinals are the best and the final sucks again type of tournaments. And then I'd still be happy if that meant that Cyril Dark was this really cool best of 7, because I think that's what the Final Four is. Semifinals best of 7, finals best of 9.
That's actually,
Yes,
I
that
think
is
even
true.
yeah, that's even worse for like
Anyone trying to beat Cyril?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe.
How
I think
are you going to
ZVZ
fool
is
him 4
best.
times? Is the question. How are you going to find 4 different builds that work
5?
against him? Well,
Yeah,
I'm just talking about the semifinals.
Oh, okay.
In the finals, how are you going to find 5? Yeah.
Yeah.
How often does Sarah lose a best of 7? Must be pretty darn rare, right?
Yes, he's definitely
I-
lost it.
I
though.
mean, I know. Like he got smashed by Rogue that one time that no one will ever let me forget. The 15-minute series,
And that's why Rogue is the GOAT.
and that's why Rogue is the GOAT. Because that one time he made Cyril look like a fool. Was he 12 pool drone pulled him 3 times in a row?
That was a banger matchup. I'm so glad we got such great games at Castward.
It was nice. It was so nice because it was such a nice day outside. I just got to go and enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Nice. That's good.
Olivera would also be an excellent surprise, like semifinalist, right? I think it is still a surprise,
Yeah.
even though I think it's possible it'd be a surprise. And
Yeah.
Hero or like if a Protoss won EWC, I just can imagine what that would mean, like for revisionist history. Protoss won EWC. They've never had any problems whatsoever. We're fine, guys. Fixes everything. But there's a lot more exciting matches. Basically, every other match would be more exciting than Cyril Maru. Just literally with the
So-
story.
Sarah loses approximately 1 best of 7 a year.
Ooh.
Approximately.
Has he lost one this year?
Per year.
He lost to no, not 2024. 2023 he lost
Oh.
to Clan 4-3. That was the last time.
But what
And
if
then you have
he...
to go to 2022. He lost to Reno.
Oh, so then he is going to lose in the round of 4.
And
Oh
it's
my
all-
God.
Oh my
all in
God.
online events as well. All of these
Oh.
losses
wow.
are online events.
So wait, has he ever lost a best of 7 offline?
He must have done. Surely.
I don't know. That's just the finals for tournaments, right? If he makes the finals, he usually wins.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only time that he was like quote unquote not good was like before
Has-
he went full time.
Has he
which
lost
would-
an offline final?
That's
Great
what I'm
question.
saying. Or has he lost an offline best of 7 even?
I'm scrolling, but I just don't see it. He must have lost to Reno at a Home Story Cup, no?
Oh,
Offline?
maybe.
WCS 2019 summer. He lost to Reno in the finals. That was the last time he lost an offline best of 7.
Jesus.
Jeez.
And obviously we had like 2 years of not having online of tournaments there, but
Of course.
yeah, that must be the last time. That's
That's
crazy.
right. Oh yeah, because I don't have a best of 7 here. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
I've been scrolling, but I'm pretty sure that's the last one that was offline.
My goodness. Yeah, that's a best of 5, best of 5. Well, that's a nice stat that we're gonna bring up on the desk, isn't it?
And WCS 2019 winter, you lost to Reno in the finals as well. So that's both times it was Reno.
Yeah, only Rainer
And
can
then
defeat him.
innovation at WSG.
Ah, innovation.
Ooh. Yeah,
Did
that
you-
was a good one.
Did you guys see the? Have you guys ever seen Pig's Pro Gamers Read Mean comments?
Mean tweets,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, just coincidentally, I never saw it, but I was, he put it on during his break, and it was Rainer reading mean comments, and one of the comments was like, Rainer's washed up. He only cries himself to sleep now because he can't beat Cyril, and he does nothing but party and hang out with girls. And Rainer starts, trolling back and is like, no. I don't go out with the girls. I go out with the guys. Okay, first of all. Second of all, yes, that's all I ever do in my life is think about how I beat Cyril in best ofs. I wake up, I think about how to beat Cyril. I go to sleep, I think about how I beat Cyril. That's my entire life. And I'm like, I know
Got
it
him.
isn't, but but you are the only one apparently who can beat him in best of 7 offline finals. He is
I think
magic.
Rainer is in the form to do it too.
I know. Yeah, he is. He is our one
I'm
hope.
excited.
If Cyril makes it to the semifinals, the only hope is Rainer, apparently.
Yeah. That's just fact.
That's crazy.
That's pretty cool. Dark did take a map off of him in the Katowice semifinals, the only map he lost. So just, shout out to my boy. But historically, the only one who can actually kill him is apparently Raynor. And then best of 9 finals. It is the first time we've had this in a really huge premier event. I mean, I did in Safe House in it. Yeah, that's the most important tournament. But
you're so cool, CG.
I really am. I know. And now, because I am so cool, EWC is copying me. What a bunch of posers.
Oh, do we know, by the way...
What was announced first, the EWC format or the Safe House? You need...
No one looked this up.
I don't know. We don't have EWC 2 confirmed yet, whereas Safe House 2 has already been confirmed.
That's true. That's true. No,
I don't know.
promises.
I'm seeing a lot of parallels on who's on the bleeding edge and who isn't.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But seriously, best of 9, and we didn't even have a proper best of 9. You know, it was one-sided, but there was also Fruitland as game 1, which I hope they do here. That would be really fun. But with an actual best of 9, where it uses all of the 9 actual ladder maps, there's been a lot of discussion about map favoritism, maps favoring Terran, for instance, versus Zerg. So, I mean, the longer a series goes, it still is supposed to prove who is actually the better player. But then there's going to be some weirdness where those absolutely never play on it maps do make it through. If it's not a one-sided 4-5-0, whatever it is. So I think that could be interesting.
You can pick the weird maps because you guys can't veto them, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it would just
So
be
you can
choose,
pick straight away.
Yeah.
I actually kind of don't like that. I wish
Who's
that.
your... Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, I kind of wish even if it's best of 9, I kind of wish they'd have like a veto still, and we just play 2 maps again at the end. I know that's probably a very hot take, but
That's kind of crazy, but I don't
the whole point of the 9 map pool was to allow for some crazier maps, but that it should never really affect tournament play to like a huge extent. It shouldn't have been to then allow for a best of 9 final with the full map pool. Arguably, best of 9 means also like you can have a crazier map. It doesn't matter as much, sure, but I don't know.
Yeah, that would be another argument.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid argument. Actually, is that it doesn't matter as much. It doesn't dictate who's going to win the finals necessarily.
Nah, I don't think it will, but I think it's actually one of those times where we will talk about the maps, just because there's that chance that the Terran picks the super bad Zerg map first, gets a win, gets momentum, loses a couple of games, and then gets to choose as strategically place the next bad map, map 5 or whatever.
Which Zerg bad map? Because there's like 4 of them.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Apparently,
you don't have to choose.
Cyril's been working on some of those difficult maps, but we won't see what
I've heard. Yeah, that was like a tweet or something, somebody
Oliveira
on Reddit
mentioned
translated
it.
something.
Yeah, Oliveira mentioned it, and it was like I was talking to Lambo, and he was like, "Oliveira did a no."
Well, I mean, that's kind of funny because that's kind of like saying, like, the sun's gonna rise tomorrow. Like, yeah, of course, Cyril's gonna prepare special stuff for the really bad Zerg maps.
I was gonna say it's kind of like saying that there's a twist in a movie where it's like, it's not a spoiler and it's not that surprising, but I would have preferred if you didn't tell me.
Oh, me too. I don't think it was a good thing that he did that. I think that was that's a faux pas for sure.
A little faux pas, yeah, just a little one.
Yeah.
And no one knows what he's creating anyway. It's not like...
Exactly. And to be honest, it could actually all just be a smokescreens to get people to veto Crimson Court against him. Can you imagine if it was all a smokescreen and Cyril's like, I haven't prepared anything for this map at all. I just don't want to fucking play Crimson. And they'll believe it.
We would immediately send him to the poker tables. That would be an amazing strategic bluff. But I don't know about that one.
He just doesn't need to. Like, the bad maps are still okay for Cyril.
Yeah.
I mean, every time someone plays him on Ghost River, he plays Cyril on Ghost River and he freaking takes your 5th base, but he's too good for you to stop him. Like, he's going to do it. He's done it multiple times now. And they just can't stop it happening. So, I don't know, man.
Yeah. That's going to be the certainly one of the bigger stories. Like, can Cyril be defeated? Can Protoss make the top 4? Can Dark get his 10th win before he goes to the military? Which is probably actually going to happen soon. And a couple other ones I'm sure I'm forgetting, but there's a lot going into it. I am excited for it, and I don't just have to say that. I am expecting similar qualities to Gamers 8, and that was really good. Same for the production and broadcast and stuff. You can't argue that it was good.
Gonna be good.
And then with all of that said, one last topic. It might be a spicy one, but kind of just generally talking about how this is actually the last tournament in the circuit, and no one's really said anything else. It's a question mark right now. Future.
Well, there's actually another thing, I guess, before that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a minor thing. I don't want to like undercut it, but talent announcement hasn't happened yet.
Oh, well, because EWC
That's
has been
not
doing
new.
this for every esport. They only announce it when the broadcast starts. I don't know why.
So should we just say it, like,
So,
or is that a faux pas too?
so by saying why we can't say it, I have now revealed why we can't say it, but I did just basically say
Put it this way: if you weren't going or you weren't a part of it, you probably would have just been like, "Man, I'm not part of it, guys." Whereas when people ask you, you're just like, "Oh, I can't say," you know. So
it's very true. There's
So Wardi, what are you up to next week?
I'm not casting SC2 next week. I tell you that much.
he can
Oh.
officially say that.
Yeah, I can officially say I'm not casting StarCraft next week.
Tantalizing.
That does raise some questions. That is actually kind of spicy.
Yeah,
Well, I just
actually.
didn't get hired. What are you on about?
What are you on about?
Yeah.
He's not flying anywhere. He's
knows?
not
I didn't
backpacking
say
through
that
England.
anywhere.
I'm literally on this show because the closest I get to EWC. ZG asked me, I was like, "Thank you." Someone included me.
All right, some esports actually had their earlier talent announcements. I mean, so they kind of like wanted it to be a thing again, because there's been times where they've actually wanted to use talent announcements as more of a marketing thing. Like, remember back when okay, I'm asking the wrong people actually. But I wasn't hired either before I lorded over. But I heard that Mark had asked all the BlizzCon people back in like 2017, 2018 to like actually individually announce. Put up a little like vertical video of them being like, "I'm going." And then every other talent announcement has not tried, which is fine in my opinion. I don't need to do that. But it's only frustrating when you can't talk about it. Because then you're just constantly doing this sidestepping thing. Like, if we could talk about it and then they officially announce us, like, okay, whatever. That's what has been happening for the past 2 years.
That's what I'm a little bit annoyed with. Is that like
There was one tournament where they actually announced it like a week before. And I was like, "Oh, nice." Like they actually like I think maybe it was Dallas, and they like announced everything like a week before or something. And like they had like this big thread of all the things.
They've been okay about talent announcements, I think.
Yeah.
A week or two in advance.
Mhm.
But they also have never told us that we're not supposed to say it. Well, technically Mark did back in the day, but even that was kind of a...
I don't even think it's in the contract or anything.
I actually think it is.
Is it
to
actually?
not say it.
Yeah, which is why I was like, well, by saying
Really?
it, then I've already revealed that I... I actually
Well,
read the
yeah,
contract. How weird is that?
You actually read the contract.
It's crazy. But because it's kind of absurd that we have this whole other, like, we're freelancers, right? We have this whole other job called streaming that is arguably more of our main job. Maybe it doesn't make us the most money, but it's what we do the most. And we have to be like, I'm mysteriously gone. Tomorrow I'm leaving and I'm not coming back and I can't tell you why. It's very odd. And I think what happens, as it always happens, is that someone comes up with a good idea. Let's do this way of marketing, and someone get on that, and then no one gets on it. So there's these things included in contracts. There's things that are just said and forgotten about, and then not enforced, or they don't do their half of the deal either. It just gets weird because I don't know. You can just tell that someone is like, "This is a good idea. Someone do that," and then no one does it. So talent announcement seems like one of those things.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you what I'm not doing. I'm not flying out for the event.
I am maybe doing it, and something else too.
Well, you can discuss your travel itinerary, ZG.
I
you can
really
just be like,
would love to go to Riyadh for fun. I had
like specifically
had
over the next
lots
like week and a
fun.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, this is what I wanted to do with my summer vacation.
Mm.
So, anyway, moving on. I am joining PUBG. It's God, we're gonna reveal that. I was gonna come in with like sparklers and shit. All right. Anyway, so seriously though, the future of StarCraft 2, it feels really weird because we've had this for the past 2 years now, where it's well, initially we were told it was A-okay and then it wasn't, so that was really cool. But they were like, it's not as okay as it should be, but we made it okay. So big shout out to ESL for that when Blizzard kind of dropped the ball. But it's been that case where it's like, this could be the last tournament and we don't know. And we kind of had like a little intermission where we were comforted 7 months ago because that actually was really good news. They were like, it's not just Katowice anymore, it's Dallas and the EWC. And we were like, wow, that's surprisingly good news, but okay, yeah, we'll take it. And then we've once again reached that point where we have no idea what's happening after. And I can only imagine there's a lot less negativity and doomsaying because the assumption is that there is something after, right? And multiple people have said like they've heard it's pretty much A-okay, but I don't have any clue where they're getting that information. Because what I've asked certain people does not lead me to a lot of confidence. But
I think,
I don't know.
my point of view, like, Esports World Cup is going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally, this is just complete personal belief, like, I personally cannot imagine they are in a rush to drop SC2 because SC2 is a very prestigious esport. And I think Esports World Cup likes the idea of having StarCraft as a title on their list of games. Like, I think that does something for them.
Yeah.
So, and I think they'd be kind of crazy to drop it because they don't have to put up $1 million prize pool. I don't know.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
They
I mean,
to.
sure, yeah, but like, I just think it'd be crazy to drop it. Like, yeah, we don't have the most viewership out there, but compared to the cost of running some of these other games, you also can like lock SC2 in as like Esports World Cup can be advertised through it all year long. You could make it the Esports World Cup circuit. Like, you could just sell ESL or pay ESL. Like, don't make it EPT, make it Esports World Cup all year long, and it would literally be free advertising for them. Compared for how much it would cost them, I really think it would. So that isn't a guarantee that it's going to happen. Other people might think differently, but my personal belief is it would be very unlikely that as long as Esports World Cup happens again, which I think it's going to already, is somewhat kind of known around the industry, I think StarCraft is very likely going to be a part of that, unless they decide to drop it for a different, unless they decide they want to do one RTS and drop it. And that's like, if they do that, I think that's a crazy time to do that right now.
And as it stands right now, without getting too spicy about it, I think we can be pretty confident that the other RTSs getting ready to go to market are not there yet.
They need more time.
They need a lot of time.
I think my opinion on this could very much so change, like, if this was this time next year. But as of right now, I just don't see how you drop SC2 as Esports World Cup and be like, yeah, we have, I think SC2 just still is the best RTS game at this point in time.
Yeah.
And
well, I think it
has a following. It has a guaranteed following. It has a guaranteed viewership. It's a single player game, so like it's cheap to put on in comparison to all these other games that you've got to fly coaches and stuff out for as well. So, yeah.
It's way
does that mean it's safe? No. But I feel like there's a reason to be cautiously optimistic that it's not just going to get binned.
Yeah, I think that the first thing you said is really one of the reasons that I'm not the most concerned, is because we're all pretty sure EWC is happening next year. That is one thing that is pretty much locked in. And yeah, they should have StarCraft. So obviously I'd be very disappointed if it was literally only EWC and there was no Dallas, Atlanta, Leipzig, whatever, right? But it would still be something to kind of hang on to. I mean, that would still anchor a lot of the rest of the scene, in my opinion, as far as these smaller tournaments. If literally no big tournament was happening, I think there'd be a lot more doomsaying and just like time to give up. But at least one big tournament will anchor StarCraft for a while.
Honestly, they could like cut out so much StarCraft for the last year, and I don't think StarCraft would be in necessarily a worse place either. I don't think we need 4 weeks of regionals twice a year or something, like we have right now, or whatever it is, because I feel like we've all said that it doesn't need to be 4 weeks long, and they keep on making it longer. Like, it was 3 weeks, now it's 4 weeks. I don't think there'd be like a major loss if that was the case. And that's like a massive way they could save money. It wouldn't be great for us as casters. I'm talking about someone that gets hired for a lot of these days, so I get to do the production and casting, right? So like I benefit more than anyone from this, and I don't think it needs to be there necessarily. So I think they could do way better with SC2 and still just have like 2 or 3 big tournaments. And the good part about SC2 is if you just have a couple big tournaments to keep people playing, the community will very much so fill in the rest. Like, you know, World Team League still happens. China want to run more stuff as well.
Yeah. I think we'd probably see NetEase. I think we'd probably see another NetEase tournament, maybe 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally didn't run events for like 5 months this year, and I didn't feel like I missed out because there's literally too much going on.
Yeah.
Like, it's just been crazy how much SC2 is happening. Like, on any given week when WTL's on, you've got 4 days a week of Kung Fu Cup and WTL. Monday is ESL Open Cups. Then you've got like 2 days, and one of those was GSL as well. So you already have like Premier StarCraft like 6 days of the week, mostly community based. Like, I get that that's not the biggest events out there, but like, I actually think there's people that would still, even if say StarCraft 2 didn't have as many big events, I actually think people would step up and still have a way to run it because we just genuinely have a community that wants to watch StarCraft. So
Yeah. Yeah, as far as like all of our direct like money making, like our jobs, like I think that's actually weirdly enough, I think we're all crazy enough to kind of push that to the side a little bit for this feeling overall that StarCraft is still doing fine. Like maybe I'm just speaking from my experience, right? But if big tournaments did not happen anymore, I would not make enough money. I would have to do something else. That is a fact. And that would suck for me. But again, if it was still this kind of feeling like, well, everyone's still hosting tournaments and playing in tournaments, and there's still people who love the esport and whatnot, that would still make me happy. That would still be my preferred way of doing things. Where again, if it's just like literally cut off, big announcement, StarCraft 2 is officially dead, blah, 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 there'd be such an air of negativity for so long that I also would probably lose interest. I'd just be so disappointed going to, you know, any of these tournaments that people are putting on because everyone would just be so negative.
It would be real sad, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be just very sad. But obviously, neither option is very good, obviously, because then like more people like me who can't literally do the job will stop appearing and everyone will get, you know, real jobs and there won't be anyone putting in the time anymore. But one's like very sudden, and other one's still that slow decline that, you know, we kind of have to admit that we're on. No one's really arguing against that. But yeah, I hope that I can continue casting big events multiple times and traveling. And I think it is likely, so that's why we're not super scared. But it is weird to just have literally no information. There is not even a little bit of a hint. And perhaps they're even more reserved because of what happened with Blizzard, or there actually is just no idea until EWC is done.
I think the other thing to so like, and maybe in addition as to why we're not as concerned though, is like, say there is no StarCraft 2, I think the assumption is there will probably be some support for another RTS, right? Because are people really just going to be like, you know what, no RTSs anymore? I feel like
ever.
I just don't think I just don't think ESL/Esports World Cup would completely drop an RTS title and just have nothing.
Oh, I think they would.
You think they would?
Yeah, 100%.
I just with the way Esports World Cup, specifically the way Esports World Cup's been going, where they've been trying to grow and do more, I just don't think they would drop RTS completely.
Here's my thing. I think if they drop StarCraft 2, that drops RTS, because there's just nothing else that is worth it. And that's a personal opinion. Okay, fine. But there also is just we've talked about this multiple times. StarCraft 2 has so many people who don't play, but they watch. There's also so many examples of people who literally only like StarCraft or maybe Blizzard RTS, but they actually are 100% not general RTS fans. 100%. In fact, the general RTS fans are a weird fucking bunch. I have gone to your guys' subreddit, and you guys are fucking weird. They hate Blizzard games. So there's actually this really big division that if you aren't like at all related to Blizzard RTS in some way, you actually lose a huge amount of your population. And clearly the general RTS market is not very interested in esports. They want their Company of Heroes to release. They want their Stormgate to release. They want their I'm trying to think of like not popular RTSs, and they play them and they have fun with them and they play versus AI and they play campaign, but they do not care about the competition. So I'd actually be very, very low hope on the whole general RTS will continue without StarCraft 2.
Oh, for a second, I thought you were saying Stormgate was not a popular RTS.
Okay. But look at it from a different point of view, because the people that make these decisions aren't me and you who
Sure.
have this opinion on StarCraft 2 and the other RTSs.
Sure.
Like, say you are, running Esports World Cup or something, you're like, man, all I've heard about RTS this year is Stormgate. Stormgate
Yes.
is the thing, right?
Yes.
And that doesn't matter, like, what state it's in right now or whatever. Like, they could just be like, yeah, Stormgate's the new thing, so we are just going to use, maybe they just see that as, like, a completely fine replacement because they don't know what the StarCraft 2 community is like. It'd be a mistake.
Sure. That is my main point, is that it would be a mistake. It just simply would be. I mean, I don't mean to rag on anyone. It just would. But my other point is that I think actually the time that has already gone by has already done quite a bit in discouraging that type of mentality. As someone who was asked to do the Street Fighter StarCraft 2 thing, like this guy had this like idea of doing like a mentorship, like trade knowledge, you know what I mean? He comes into our Discord and is like, should we do Stormgate? And it's all those things you listed, because yes, 100% the casual person thinks, oh my God, that is the future. This is all I've ever heard. And so the guy comes in and is like, this is what I've been hearing. And other content creators outside of our fields are also talking about Stormgate, but they just say no to StarCraft 2. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you ask them a hypothetical would they would play this game they've never even seen or this game that they've already seen. The truth is they probably don't play either. Or they try it and they don't play it for very long. And so already within 3 days, we had that guy changed his mind. He was like, okay, it actually seems like StarCraft is still the way to go.
Yeah, but then they had like that communication with the Discord, right? And they've like talked to people. That's the thing. Like sometimes people that are high up make decisions without getting involved.
Yes. I think we're just kind of arguing over whether or not the blind positivity is good enough to just be like, okay, hop on. But if it requires any amount of like extended thought over weeks or months at a time, I think there's very little chance that StarCraft 2 will be dropped in favor of another RTS, or that RTS will replace StarCraft 2 if it is the one that's dropped. You're totally right. Like, I think you're totally right to bring up this point of view, because that is totally a thing that is happening.
I think it's, like I say, a very different discussion this time next year, because I think the other RTS games out there have a lot of potential with time. It's just like, if you made that decision right here and now, I think we definitely think it's a mistake, right? So
yeah, and we'd have no idea what's going to happen next year as far as to where any of these other RTS titles are going to be, or how much they've developed, or whatever it is. So yeah, trying to touch around being, just like brutal, but the reception to the most recent RTS has been mixed. That is a factual statement. It has been mixed, and that doesn't bode particularly well for the future, but, don't want to say that it's without possibilities. There could be another RTS in the future at EWC. I will say that it's possible. I just don't think so.
I just don't think they would drop StarCraft.
That's the thing.
I don't think they will either.
I just think it's for the sake of the prestige of the name StarCraft, and if they truly just have money, like, what is keeping StarCraft in comparison to running all these other events? Like, yeah, the StarCraft 2 prize pool is super competitive to these other events, but it wouldn't even have to be necessarily. Like, they could still run it at half the price of the prize pool, and it would still keep the scene as it is right now.
Yep.
And that is assuming that maybe they do also support the Pro Tour or whatever, but they could literally sell that as like promotion for their next year's event, which I feel like is just good for them. So yeah, I think the prestige of StarCraft gets it a long way. I think it's a reason why it's not been dropped before now, because it's a very powerful title to have in your arsenal of just be like, hey, StarCraft. Like, I mean, I go out and tell people, I've noticed this playing at my Pokemon stuff lately. People are like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, a Twitch stream or whatever, right? And they're like, "Oh, what game do you do?" And I'm like, "StarCraft," and I'm ready to tell them what StarCraft is, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of StarCraft," And it's like, for something like StarCraft, which isn't in my eyes like a mainstream game, a lot of people have still heard of it. Like, it's still got that name recognition.
Yeah.
Which like a lot of other games of StarCraft size just don't really have on like a wider scale. So, yeah.
Is this how far we've fallen? That now we're celebrating people have heard of StarCraft? Is this?
Yeah, I'm not celebrating it. It's just a pleasant surprise because, like, to me, StarCraft's a very niche game. It's not the big thing on Twitch. It's not the big thing that everyone goes out to play.
Yeah.
It's not new, so it's not like a recent thing that people have been playing, right? Like, it's a pretty niche space. It's not like a Fortnite or a FIFA or like all these things that people might, or like a League or a CS that people probably have heard of, right? Because it's just that big and that popular. Like, yeah, StarCraft's a pretty niche game. Like, to like go out and hear people have heard of it or played it once upon a time is kind of crazy.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it's been
no,
around
yeah.
for like 26 years, and it is what it is the father, the grandfather of modern esports. Like, I don't think
but you're not talking about necessarily people who know about esports. You're talking about people who just generally know games. Like, not everyone who play games is into esports. 90% of people don't know StarCraft is the grandfather of esports or how this all got here or anything, right? Like, a lot of people just
know that to have heard of it. I mean, like, it's like.
Yeah, but my point is that's why it's still interesting that they've heard of it, because to me and you, like, of course people have heard of StarCraft because it's the grandfather of esports, but to these people who are just like, I've met people who are like hardcore Overwatch fans who have no idea what StarCraft is in the past.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
but Overwatch fans aren't real people. That's like, you're forgetting that point. Like, they're just.
But they literally have to click through the thing that has StarCraft on it to play Overwatch,
Exactly,
and they haven't heard of
my
it.
point. They're not real. They're robots. They've never been real.
To kind of add what Wardi's saying, I think there's also, there's the people that, like I just mentioned, these maybe they've been kind of in the video game sphere, the Twitch sphere, the esports sphere to some extent. They know StarCraft, they might have tried it, and they're done with it. We do hear about that. And so Stormgate is that, like, well, I did like it when I played it, but I'm kind of done with it. And maybe this is what I'm looking for, easier, newer, whatever, right? There are those people, but then you really can't forget how many people are actually doing the opposite, where they're like, I did used to play that game. I still fucking love that game. It's just too difficult, or I've lost track of time, or I do other things. And so if that ever comes back, I would be interested in it, or I would like it. And that has actually kept StarCraft for a while, because a lot of people up in the upper jobs, they all did start with StarCraft, and most of them came away with at least a respect of the video game, even if there's a ton of respect, right? I've always compared it to being like an old veteran in the old folks home, okay, where it's like, yeah, I like had to jump out of a plane because I was going down in World War II, and you're like, fuck, that's awesome. Okay, see you later. I'm not going to talk to you again because you're old and I don't want to visit my grandparents. Like, that is StarCraft. You're like, you're old. Oh, but you're really cool. But you're old. I don't want to speak to you anymore. Okay, bye. But you do get the cool factor, and you do get the prestige, and you do get a couple of people who really like it, but they just can't play with it. So
the prestige and the respect is actually what is keeping StarCraft 2 alive more than anything. Because there is that like if a tournament has StarCraft 2 at it, there's definitely a sense of like, oh, okay, like this is legit. Even if it's not, some crazy thing, like it still definitely commands respect for sure. And I don't even think that's a controversial take. Whereas I think something like Stormgate is definitely not got the, like, no one's like, oh man, you're a pro at Stormgate, like, damn, you must be really good at games. Where if someone says, oh man, I won a tournament in StarCraft 2, there's an instant awe there. There's a like, well shit, you must be really fucking good at games. Like, you are you are crazy good at games.
It's so funny how much credit StarCraft gets, and it is hard for me to really put myself in any other position of being, from the outside. So I feel like StarCraft isn't that complicated of a game. I have tried learning other esports, and I struggled way more doing it, but that doesn't mean anything. It just means that I play a lot of RTS, I guess. But one thing you always get when you talk about StarCraft is, oh, that's so difficult.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That Yeah,
Oh, it's too hard for
sure.
me.
Yeah, all right. So is reaching, Grandmaster in CS or whatever it is for them, but okay. All games get hard if they're competitive is what I'm trying to say. I hate the baby hand-holding shit we got nowadays. God damn it. Anyway.
Agreed.
There are also other RTS that are apparently you could argue could be in contention, but Kalaris kind of shot that down in chat. Apparently Age of Empires is just not gonna happen. Sorry, buddies. I respect you, but nope. I would love Age of Mythology to be something, but that's not gonna happen either, apparently. So it's It's StarCraft 2, Stormgate, or maybe Zero Space? I know some people mentioned Tempest Rising, but I think that's such a different type of game. But it is an RTS.
Immortal Game.
What about Godsworn? Godsworn's great, man. It's great. Just gonna skip over some of these things. Anyway, so TLDR of this discussion, pretty sure it's gonna continue, and that's why no one's really panicking. That's basically the TLDR. But there is also at least a 1% chance of us finishing EWC and then being like, goodbye forever.
So, TLDR, watch EWC, be really excited about it.
Yeah.
Tweet about it. Do you actually do the things? Because I actually feel make a difference. So,
yeah, I think
do
so.
the stuff.
There's actually a lot of pressure on this EWC. So definitely watch it, guys. And that's a great way to end the show, I think. Yeah. So before we get sucked into any RTS discussion of general RTS, because that's bound to happen, let's end it. Thank you so much for sticking around, guys. Thanks to CatZ, who had to go and do his real person job. And follow these two guys on their Twitch channel. You guys probably are. And I'll see one of you fairly soon. The other one, have fun being at home. No, seriously, it's going to be like 110 degrees. You should actually have fun being at home.
It's going to be so hot.
But I wish everyone was there.
Me too. I also wish everyone was there.
Yeah. Oh, well. There's always next year. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Maybe.
There's always maybe next year.
Probably 90%. We don't know, but we'll hope for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. I hope to see all of you all in chat for the StarCraft 2 EWC. Bye, guys.